One more standing ovation.
Thank you.
Eve, it is hard to have words right now. This is the second time I saw it. The first time, Valentine's Day, the 20th anniversary of V-Day, when, like tonight, you're surrounded by loved ones, whether you know them or not. And I feel like I was born again tonight, just as I was that day. This is a tour de force. This, I think everyone has been changed in this audience. I don't know how each night, and actually sometimes twice a day, you live your life in this 80 minutes. And I want to start there. How you conceived of this, how we're sitting in this magnificent live garden. Talk about the inception of this play. And thank you so much for what you've given all of us.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being here. Thank everybody for being here. I can't tell you how much I love this woman. No, honestly. I would do anything in the world for her. And I think so many of us feel that way, you know? Honestly. And Amy doesn't take compliments well, and she doesn't like praise well, but I'm going to do it tonight because I have an opportunity.
But what you think?
And I just want to say this audience was so wonderful. You know, every night's such a different journey. Audiences are like, they're organisms, you know? They really are. And some nights they congeal, and some nights they don't. And some nights they start out in very, very far away places by the end, and some nights they get further. And what I've learned is that you just have to do it every night, 100% for love, and it doesn't really matter. And the rest is really none of your business, right? You know, like you just have to give it for love. I think doing this play, it has been much harder than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I didn't think it would be hard. But you know, when I did it in Boston, I was still finding it. So I was so busy like finding out what I was doing that I couldn't drop in as far as I can drop in here. And dropping in is really intense. You know, it's agony and it's the ecstasy. Some nights I just, when I do the Angelique piece at the end, and Mama C was here, and she was here for a week doing talkbacks, and she told me that she had just interviewed a woman who had just gone through the exact same thing 3 weeks ago. And, you know, then I remember that when I'm doing it, and it feels unbearable. But I also feel like we have to tell the truth. You know, we live in such a performative culture, right? Where everybody has their act on, and their mask on, and their performance on. And everybody's hurting, and everybody feels excluded. Neoliberal capitalism excludes us all, right? Except for the 0.11. And even they, I think, feel excluded because they have to keep getting more and more, so they must not feel like they're in. But I think right now, in this particular environment that we're in, with this insanity that is happening all around us, and the hate and the destruction, I feel like it's so great to be in the theater. It's so great to be connected to people. It's just so great to feel love and to feel like people can cry and we can be here together, because I don't know where else we can do that right now. Do you know? I feel blessed to be doing the show right now, as hard as it is, you know.
Talk about the production of the show, the magnificence, the director, the set, what you brought to this, the images, the video, and the garden.
Well, Diane Paulus, for those of you who don't know her, is just a genius. She's brilliant. And, you know, she had read the book and she said, why don't we do this as a one-person show? And I was like, oh, really? I think then I had a good idea what this would be, and then I forgot. But she really had an idea in her head of it. And then we spent weeks and weeks and weeks in my house, in my apartment in New York, just taking the 200-page book and turning it into a play. And I just remember piles of paper, you know, letting go of that friend. Oh, that friend doesn't get to be in the book, and that friend. But while she was sitting in my loft, she was like, oh, I mean, this looks like my loft. I mean, we're in my loft. I mean, a wonderful journalist from the NPR came to my house to interview me, and he was like, we're on the set. No, we're in your house. No, we're in the set. And so she kind of had the idea to make it there, but it was really her and Myung-hee Cho, who's just a brilliant, brilliant set designer and a brilliant artist, who really had the idea to end it in the garden and to keep that moment until the very end, where it's like when your heart breaks open, you break open into the garden. And a woman said a beautiful thing to me the other night. This amazing woman, she was like, oh my God, the garden was there the whole time. We just didn't look at it. It was behind the curtain the whole time. I said, that's the point. Paradise is right here. We just need to lift the veil and look at it, you know? And I thought that was just such a beautiful way of putting it.
I remember seeing you a few years ago, and it was now I understand the weekend that you had just gotten the news of your cancer. It was at Busboys and Poets in Washington, D.C., and it was the middle of some massive crisis, and you were there to speak.
Yes,
and
so were you.
Right,
yes.
And we just crossed paths.
I saw you the night that I was diagnosed. I saw you the night I was diagnosed in D.C., and I couldn't tell anyone because I had to give... I literally got diagnosed that day, then I went to D.C. and gave 3 speeches, which I cried through all of them. People were like, wow, she's really emotional. It was 8 years ago. And I saw you that night. There was a Code Pink event. We did a whole thing. And then the next day I went to the Mayo Clinic. Literally. People were like, you're going to go give the speeches? I was like, of course I'm going to give the speeches. So I'm showing up for people. Otherwise I'll just feel too depressed. You know?
Do you feel like you relive this every single day you do this? How do you rejuvenate after going through this in the afternoon and then the evening and then the same thing the next day, and you've already gone through it in your real life?
You know, we don't understand pain. We're all afraid of pain, right? We all resist pain. We push away from pain. We don't want to go towards the truth, to memories. The resistance is the pain. Trust me on this. The resistance is the pain. Like, there is a river. There is a river. And if you get into the river with your pain, the river will take you to the next place. But if you don't get into the river, you'll sit on the bank and you'll be literally, you'll be hardened in your pain, do you know? So, to be honest with you, I have a standing joke with one of my friends that at the end of this, I'm just going to be a pebble. You know, like I just feel like it's just wearing down everything, and people send me pictures of pebbles with bangs and lipstick on it, you know? And I feel like there's something about being in the fire that's both agonizing and ecstatic, but what it is truthful. So much of this culture isn't truthful. We're not telling the truth so much of the time. You know, somebody said to me the other day, you know, if we were really awake right now, we would be wailing and we would be living in the streets. If we were really awake, we would. How could we tolerate what's happening to DACA kids? How could we tolerate what's happening to the earth? We can go down the list. We're so inured. And so I appreciate at least being awake and at least being in my feelings to what's going on. Because that's one of the ways I can be in revolution, is being awake to what's going on and not being shut down to it. And I was just watching those kids, you know, walking out of their schools, and it's like, yay! They're in passion. They're pissed off, you know. And that's what it looks like. And I think we've all gotten so used to this. We've normalized it. Do you know?
So talk about that, because yes. Yesterday was the day that 1 million students walked out, not only all through the United States, but in solidarity around the world. This is also the 20th anniversary of V-Day, and talk about the progression. And some people here are not even aware of what V-Day is, but the whole progression of from V-Day to now Me Too to Enough, Never Again, the gun control massive marches that will also take place on March 24th all over the country.
Well, you know, this is an amazing time we're living through. It's an amazing time. Both most horrible, but it's also the biggest awakening. We can just feel the rumblings of the big awakening that is happening. I feel like there are flash floods and the tsunamis coming of the people rising up. I feel it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Because we're going to make it happen. You know, when I did the Vagina Monologues 20 years ago, we started V-Day, which was a grassroots movement to end violence against women. where I gave people the rights to do the play at certain points of the year for free to raise money in their communities and raise consciousness. And, you know, it's really incredible to me. Look, I would have dreamed that the play was outdated by this date. You know, when people come after me for not having written certain monologues, I'm like, I didn't know the play was going to last for 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wrote it 20 years ago. But the truth of the matter is, this year alone, there were close to 800 places that did the play. They did it in prisons. They did it in front of Trump Tower. They did it, you know, I mean, it's like, if I could show you all the places in the world where the play is now being used as a piece of resistance in the face of whether it's the, you know, incredible Gabriela movement in the Philippines, where they're doing it with workers are doing it, or indigenous women want to do it, or, you know, guerrilla fighters want to do it. I mean, it seems to have worked its way, but the last 20 years fighting against violence against women has been an unbelievable journey, and so many women, young women that I saw originally in the play are now grassroots leaders, and they've become radicals, and they become people who are leading because they were in that play to some degree. You know, that was that moment that turned them, and they were like, oh my God, I've got a vagina, and I love my vagina, and I'm standing up for and I'm gonna fight now for the world, you know? But I think what's happening with Me Too, with Time's Up, you know, movements don't just happen, right? We all, in this country, we're also used to the instant thing. Movements take years and years. There were women of color before me in the civil rights movement, whether the Rosa Parks women who were fighting against violence against women then because rape was so insane. And I stand on the backs of them, and whatever's come after me stands on the backs of us, and it's a continuum. It's a continuum, and now we're beginning to break through in ways we've always dreamed of. But I think one of the things we have to keep remembering about movements, and this is, I feel really deeply, is there's many sisters and brothers who came before us. Yeah, that's why I was thinking about Muhammad Ali tonight. I am here because of Muhammad Ali. I mean that. He instructed me. He was my teacher. He taught me how to behave. He stood up to the war in Vietnam. He refused to let his soul be tainted by the American government. I saw that and I went, wow, I can do that, right? We all stand on the backs of amazingly brave people who came at times when they were risking everything to stand up for that. And I think we have a kind of violent amnesia in this country. We forget the people who come before us, and in that way, we demean them and we erase them, and then they feel that their lives don't have value. So I'm just doing a plea now for everybody to remember the people who came before you, because I see so many older people right now feeling like I'm in my 70s or I'm in my late 60s or my 80s, and like people don't remember the work I did. And we have to remember that, because that's soul damaging not to remember that, you know? I feel so strongly, but I also want to say we're at a really amazing moment, I think, you know? And it's the worst moment I've certainly lived through, and in some ways, one of the most exciting moments we've lived through. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I think about Emma Gonzalez, right? You think of the 17, 18-year-old girl who survives, young woman, child, teenager, all together, who survives the massacre on Valentine's Day. And within days, these young people are giving speeches. She had her AP Gov notes in front of her when she gave that 11-minute speech in Fort Lauderdale, calling out the NRA, calling out the politicians, saying we are not going to take no. And she said they had started that debate under the desks, in the closets, as they were hunkered down, again, terrified that they would die. They were debating the issue of gun control and what would happen if they went to Tallahassee and these legislators said, no, we're not going to pass an assault weapons ban. 1 hour before the massacre, their AP Gov teacher was telling them about the special interest, the NRA, that had captured the politicians, was teaching them about what vested interests mean in this country. I mean, it goes so much further than gun control. They were teaching these young people, and now these young people are teaching us, when you don't have so much invested in the system, and you see how the system can be used against you, I mean, the blinders have been taken off. There are no holes barred here, and they are marching not only on Washington, but all over the country.
Yeah.
So it is an astounding moment, and you combine that with the Me Too movement, the women who have spoken out against Trump and said he sexually harassed them. Many people said, see, and then he becomes president, so it had no meaning. Hardly. It may be those very women who came out, who then, right before the Me Too movement, Trump is elected. And now they are circling back, and that inspired the Me Too movement. How could it be?
Well, the March on Washington was inspired by the fact that a predator-in-chief was elected. We all know that. That's why we were there.
Within 24 hours of him being inaugurated.
Exactly.
And theirs was much bigger than his.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we're going to open this to everyone. So if anyone has a question or a comment, and if Ms. Ali would like to come down and share your thoughts.
Please come down.
It would be so... Khaliah, if you'd like to come down, we'd love, what an honor it is that you are here.
Oh my God, I couldn't, you should have seen me as I was preparing. I was like, I'm not going to get my mouth open. Yeah.
I got this text, you're not going to believe this, Amy. Guess who will be in the audience?
I have to come.
I'm so emotional tonight. Yeah, I'm almost that tall. Here we go.
I'm hallucinating.
You're hallucinating. I can't even tell you what I'm doing.
Is this what, Khaliah, is this what you expected?
Hell no. I dreamed of, but not expected. This is magnificent. I just have to tell you, I am filled with so much gratitude. I am so humbled on so many levels. You know, the Congo is very dear to us. My father's great fight took place there. I traveled there over 10 years ago now with our son, and we started work there with Malika, and that's actually how we connected tonight through a wonderful woman, Bethany, who works with the both of us. And cancer is just so real. My husband and son aren't here tonight because we're dealing with it. My husband's got cancer. It's something that, like, every person on my mother's side, maternal side, passed away from, and I even did hospice care nursing to put myself through college. So it's, you know, so generous and extraordinary of you to give of yourself like this. I'm sitting there, and anyone I spoke to tonight was just kind of like, where is she getting this from? You know, the immense gift. I'm so humbled in your presence, the gratitude. It's just so remarkable. You know, to me, it's the essence of my father. It's what I wrote you. You know, that is why people are here and they feel you. You know, that's what true enrollment is. You can see yourself because, like you said, we're these avatars on social media. You know, everything's so opaque. You know, I mean, it's just the raw beauty and power of what you did tonight was just extraordinary. And it spoke into at once, I think, everybody's greatest fears and then everybody's hopes. You know, and it's just a gift. I know my father's here, and he is so proud. You know,
Just a few days ago, the imam who presided over your father's funeral was with other imams and Muslim leaders in Washington standing up for young DACA immigrants, and many of them were getting arrested. The imams and the Muslim leaders saying we're here for them.
oh, he's an extraordinary man, by the way. You know, my father was in the last stages of life. It was really wonderful because we were all there with him, and he wanted every religion represented. So my husband, who's Jewish, and his manager did the Kaddish, and then there were Buddhist chants, Namayo, Rengekyo, and my daddy. And the imam was there, and they found Christians. It was just this incredible experience, and he sat there and just kind of guided us all through that last passage of my father's physical life. It was extraordinary. He's an incredible man. He gave us such a gift. And the irony was, he was set to see my father. It wasn't even planned. You know, my father died as a Muslim. He died on a Friday, Juma Friday, which is a religious day, and the first day of Ramadan. And so it was just very special for him, I think, having witnessed births and witnessed many deaths. They're both equally special. And some incredible things happen around those events. So he was just wonderful. He's an incredible man. Can't say enough.
I just want to tell you this, that I don't know, I'm not sure. That when I was really, really sick, your father came to me, and he told me to go get a picture of him. He really did. He said, "Get a picture of me." And my sister picked up on it, and she got a wall-size photograph, that photograph, and she had it made, and she sent it to me, and we put it on the wall. And every day, I kid you not, I had his glove, and that's all I had, and I stood in front of that picture, and I just literally fed off his achievements, his vision, I think he's truly the most beloved man who's ever lived. You know, honestly, I can't think of anyone who is more beloved than Muhammad Ali. You know, and there's a reason. There's a reason for that. You know, so I feel so grateful to you for being here tonight because my life is so connected to him. You know, in so many ways. So
but you have to realize, like for me, my life is so connected to you. You know, I grew up in your lovely reign. Oh, goddess, you. You know, the inspiration, the gift that you've given. I think the best thing I ever did was I took my 16-year-old son to Vagina Monologues. He was supposed to be here tonight. He's so sorry. He wanted to be here. And, not even for young women, but raising proper young men in this world. Real men. Those good ones that we don't give enough credit to. Yeah. They exist. Yeah. You know, and just everything that you've given. I always say it's just a reflection. It's a mere reflection of your love and beauty.
Thank you.
It truly is.
So who would like to join in this discussion? Yeah.
My name is Dava Mitchell, and I want to deeply thank you for this work. You inspired me to go to the Congo and work at the hospital of Dr. Mukwege myself, and you inspired my dear friend Aline Dowdy, who I know worked with you at the City of Joy. And when you did the piece on Angelique piece, it just ripped me back open again. And I heard many stories when I was there, but none quite as intense as that. And I just want to know, is it changing? You know, is it, when I heard you say that 3 weeks ago, the same thing, it's like I can't even fathom having been there, that level of, and so it just breaks my heart, and I wondered, it's such a complicated, it's like if somebody asked you if things were changing in America, what would you say? It's the same question, you know. Is neoliberal capitalism still barbaric and still ripping open the Congo? Of course it is. Are multinationals still pillaging the resources of a country that belongs solely to the Congolese and stealing it from under them so that they are starving in a place of plenty? Yes, they are. Are the Congolese women rising up and healing themselves? Yes, they are. And I think, you know, unfortunately, Joseph Kabila is the head, and he is completely corrupt, and he will not have an election, and he has stolen millions and millions of dollars out from underneath the Congolese. And there's no reason the Congolese people should be starving. It's one of the richest resources-full countries in Africa. I mean, in Lake Kivu alone, they could be fueling the entire sub-Sahara with electricity, but it's all in the wrong hands, and all those global entities and multinationals are tied into all those people. So, is it any different here? I mean, are we all living in the same neoliberal cesspool? I mean, are we in that same story? So I think the answer is yes, the stories continue, and yes, women are being transformed, and that is happening simultaneously. And we've already graduated 1,038 women, and we're very close to bringing them all back. And I think next year we'll probably have the first gathering of the thousands to say, okay, what's our next step? But I have to tell you, City of Joy is one of the most extraordinary places I've ever been in my life. And there's more joy there than any place I've ever been in my life, because there is more grace and gratitude. Do you know?
And let's not forget, as the whole discussion in the corporate media is about Russia interfering with U.S. elections, let's not forget what the U.S. did in terms of overthrowing and interfering in other people's elections, particularly in the Congo. Think about Patrice Lumumba, who was democratically elected, the founding president, who
and would have changed the whole direction of the Congo.
Who ultimately was killed because of, and now the documents are out, because of the CIA, as they did with Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran in 1953, as they did with Jacobo Arbenz in 1954 in Guatemala. We have to acknowledge our history so that we can change the world and make sure this isn't repeated by any country, anywhere.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes, if you can make...
Just briefly, I just think I've always felt as a woman we hold so much power just even by what we purchase. You know, whether, and these are not real diamonds and never will be. You know, but just the power of our purchase and how we live our lives as conscious consumers and conscious consumerism, the differences we can make and not falling into the trappings of luxury fever. You know, and putting our money where it counts and making a difference, I think is really huge. Should we think about the things we extrapolate from the Congo?
Exactly.
Who would like to, who's got a comment they'd like?
Be careful, be careful, be careful.
My heart is just pounding out of my chest with so much gratitude. Thank you so much. I'm actually here with the Commission on the Status of Women, but I raised my hand because I mentor, but they really mentor me, teenage girls from Israel and Palestine who come together in peace dialogues under the motto, "A friend is an enemy whose story you have yet to hear." And you, yes, an enemy is a friend whose story you have yet to hear. And so we take them to places that are neutral ground because they can't get through the checkpoints in Israel to come together and even connect on Facebook. And you are their hero. And one of them, who lives in the Oasis of Peace Village and has the conflict built into her body because her mother is Jewish Israeli, her father is Arab Palestinian, has created multiple V-Days in your honor, and you are her personal hero, and she would be freaking out if she knew that I was here right now, and I was just wondering if you would be willing to say something to them that I could WhatsApp them.
Yes, can we do it after?
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for doing the work you're doing.
There was two aspects to. There were several parts in what you just gave us.
Closer to the mic.
Where, can you hear me now? Where you had this aspect where the whole change, the color of the stage changed. You went to this deep piece where I could feel you giving yourself the nourishment and the healing that you needed, even the aspect with you and your mom when you held her. And then there was this aspect of this, like, falling into her, like this love or surrender into the peace of that. And I know after everything we do, all the proaction and all the trauma we hold and all the pain that we hold, eventually I could feel that it's eventually the end game is this level of peace, this level of stillness and love that you so beautifully transmitted. And I couldn't only help to crave more of that for you, for your healing and for your journey.
Thank you.
And I only ask, is there any thoughts or how do you balance the proaction of the fire in conjunction with giving yourself and receiving the peace?
Well, thank you, and I really appreciate that offering. You know what's really interesting? I really learned something doing this play. The first few nights I started doing it, my mother showed up on stage. She really showed up, like she's here, you know. And I smell her, I feel her. Sometimes I can even see her. And every night we're working something out. It's just deeper and deeper our healing. And some nights I just want to sob in the middle of it because last night she said to me, "How did you think I could love you when I wasn't awake?" She said it to me last night in the middle of the scene. I was not conscious. You're demanding something from me that I could not have given you. And it literally changed me. And I think we can really work things out with people who aren't here anymore. There's a process. There's something. It's really teaching me this. Like there's a way that you can go to that altar of that loved one and keep talking to them and working with it to work that out. And I think it's helping her wherever she is too. I can feel it. So I do feel at peace. I do feel at peace. I love my mother so much now. I've come to such love for her. She's completely forgiven. She's freed, you know. And I really appreciate she did the best she could with the consciousness she had. But I want to be more conscious than that. I want to bring more consciousness to this world. And I want the people behind me to bring more consciousness. Because it was too much pain she left in the wake of her unconsciousness, you know. I think we have time for one more.
I think this person flew up to see you, Eve, from Asheville, North Carolina.
Thank you.
And so we're glad that I did. I believe, as you do, that your mother could not do any better because she was not conscious. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and you from the bottom of my heart, for helping us to elevate the consciousness of this world so that we can heal and we can grow and we can love.
Thank you. And I just want to say something about that. You know, if our movements are going to be successful, we have to go inside as well as outside. We have to walk the talk that we're walking. We have to love the way we want to tell other people they should be loving. And that has to do with healing ourselves, you know? We have to heal ourselves. It goes hand in hand. They're not separate motions, do you know? Because when we're not healed, we are acting out of bad behavior, past behavior, and we're inflicting the same venom and the same destructions on people that we don't want to be inflicted on ourselves, you know? So I just ask everybody to take the time to take care of yourselves, particularly right now in this time of trauma, where whether you're an immigrant or a Muslim or a Mexican or an African American or a woman or a transsexual or a homosexual, anybody but a very rich white man, as far as I can tell, you know, everybody is being bruised and battered in this culture. I had beautiful DACA kids in my dressing room 2 times, sobbing about how they were feeling about living in this country. I've had Haitian immigrants who have come here and talked to me about what it's like to live in a place that's calling their homeland a shithole. I've had Africans who have visited me who can't even believe that this country is calling Africa the names. So we're all being bruised right now, and we have to just look at everybody next to us and just assume that that person is traumatized. Assume that we can reach out and make space to love that person and share a muffin and share a coffee, whatever you're doing, because it's really critical right now.
Eve, is this play really ending on March 25th?
It is.
So I want to encourage people to tell your friends, family, to get here before that day or until that day. There may be still some tickets available. This isn't to sell it, but this is, you understand what you just experienced. It is sort of the best kept secret right now. I mean, this is one of the most magnificent plays I have ever seen in New York. It is absolutely astounding. So I highly encourage, let everyone know, don't keep this a secret. And also, tune into Democracy Now! Daily.
And I want to say something about that. Okay, I want to say something about this woman here. Single-handedly, with her amazing team.
Not single-handedly. In fact, would everyone stand who's here from Democracy
Okay, I
Now! With Sharina and Carla and Isis, Mario, and Miriam.
I didn't mean
all of the folks who are here.
I didn't mean single-handedly without team, but I want to say something. Democracy Now! Is keeping democracy alive in this country right now because it's keeping the truth alive. And I want to say everybody needs to support it. And I support it. I give my money to it because I believe in it so deeply. And I believe in Amy, and I believe in her team. And I want everyone to leave here tonight. I don't care what you do, send a check to Democracy Now! Because I honestly mean this. It is supported by us. It is supported by us. And because of that, the real news is getting out. And if you're not listening to Democracy Now!, you just need to start immediately. Because the truth, and you know, I was thinking of Amy today. I was thinking how Amy refuses everything that has been put on her. She won't glam it up. She won't. What do you mean? She won't slick it up. She won't change she tells the truth as it is. You know what I mean? And I have so much respect for her integrity and so much respect for the way she absolutely includes everybody in the stories that she's telling. And I just want to honor her. And now, my new friend. Thank you for coming tonight. It just, you have no idea what it meant to me. No idea. Thank you.
I can't begin to put to words what you've given me, and I know it's what everybody's feeling right now. Thank you, and of course, thank you for your service.
Yeah. All right, thank you all.